Welcome back everyone to the ultimate guide to Blender 3D rigging and animation, and this is where we left it off. Alright, so now let's come to our barrel. And the first thing I want to do with my barrel is I want to rotate it. So in other words, I want it to roll. Now when you're animating something, it's always better off to break down location, scale, and rotation. This is because it makes it easy. In other words, if I'm trying to move this at the same time as actually rotating it, at the same time as making it bigger or smaller, it gets really complex fast. So you're better off breaking it down into small sections and putting it on location, rotation, and scale, unless you know that you're not really going to be altering it that much. So then you can put it on all three. What do I mean by that? So if I press I, you'll see that we have options location, rotation, scale, or we have one, which is this one here, for instance, which is all three together, which is really nice. Now, there are ways of actually changing them independently, but it's better actually if we start just with location, rotation, and scale if you're sure you don't want to alter anything. So for instance, if I just want it to start here, I can put on location, rotation, scale. And if I want it to move over here by pressing the G key, that will do it this way. So 100, G, over here, I, location, rotation, scale. And now you'll see that it just moves over there like so, all with location, rotation, scale. Now we could have done that with, of course, just location. And the thing is there, now we know that we're not going to be able to alter the scale or the rotation easily. So in other words, it stops us doing that as well. All right, so now let's put it back to 1, because if I come in now and delete these keyframes, you'll see it still stays there, and that's not what we want. So if I press Ctrl Z, and then what I'm going to do is delete the keyframes once I've put it back to 1, now you'll see that it's back to where it is. Now the other thing is, as I said, because we rotated it, let's press Ctrl A on all transforms, right click Set Origin to Geometry. Now because we've reset all the transformations, if I scale this up for instance, to get this back to what the transformation should be, all I need to press is Alt and S, and what that'll do is reset the actual scale. That's also important when we're using animations. So Alt S, Alt G, and Alt R basically will reset the actual location, the rotation, and the scale. So this is really important because it makes it then very easy to get back what we had before. So now let's come to our barrel, and what we'll do is we'll start with the rotation like so. If I press I, I'm going to click on location, rotation, and scale. And then what I'm going to do is it's based over 200, so I know I should put this on 50. So I'm just going to click on here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this. So R, Y, 90, and just rotate it by 90 degrees. And then I'm going to press I, location, rotation, scale. Now, if I move this, we should see that this starts to roll like so. And now what we want to do is we want to put it on 100. And the reason I'm doing this, obviously, we want this to roll in a 360 degrees because then it can actually carry on rolling if we need it to. So what I'm going to do now, I've got this here, is press R, Y, 90, and then press I, location, rotation, scale. Now, 200 and just rotate it 180 degrees instead, rather than 490 degrees. It's not worth doing it. If you're doing a turn-in or something like that, it's always better to break it down into 4 parts. If you try and break it down to 2 parts, Blender will sometimes mess up. So what do I mean that? If I come over here and put it on 200 and rotate this, so I'm going to press R, Y, 180, like so. I'm going to press I, location, rotation, scale. Now, although this will work, sometimes when you do this, it will stop here and actually start rotating the other way around because Blender is filling in all of these keyframes independently. Even though you can't see them, the way that this works is that Blender is trying to get from this point with the rotation here to this rotation here, and it fills all of them in between. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on 150. I'm going to click it on here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. So R, Y. In fact, because we've got it here, the other thing is we haven't decided how fast this is going to go between here and here. Blender has. So the real way to do this is actually to put it on here, delete this one out of the way so we don't mess it up, put it on 150. And then what we're going to do is press Y, 90, and then we're going to click I, location, rotation, scale. Finally, we're going to put this on 200, and then we're going to click R, Y, 90, I, location, rotation, scale. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this through and it should start rolling. And then you can see it actually stops. So it's not a continuous roll, which is something that we actually need because we need it to keep rolling. We don't really want it to kind of stop. So the way I'm going to actually do this is I'm going to grab these three. So, and then we're going to talk about interpolation. So once I've grabbed these three, I'm going to right click and you'll see that we have interpolation mode. Now, if I put this on constant, for instance, you'll see now stops and then it just spins around like so. Doesn't actually roll, but you will see it does roll in the beginning, but because we only changed the interpolation mode on this point, nothing happens with this point here. So that's useful because it means that we can have a slow start to our roll and then it just can be a constant roll. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all three of these. I'm going to right click, interpolation, and I'm going to put it on linear. What that means is it's going to be a linear speed. So now if I come to here, press the space bar, and there you go. You can see it actually started to slow, and now it's picked up the pace. And the reason for that is because we probably need another keyframe in here, which is going to stop it just jutting there, because this is still on linear. So we just need another keyframe in there to stop it kind of, as you can see, rolling, and then it stops, and then it starts rolling again. Now, we're not actually going to do that in this one because that's a little bit more complex, but we are going to discuss that a little bit later on in the course. But for now, what we want to do is we want it also to be moving from here to here. Now, the problem we've got is we actually set the location, the rotation, and the scale. So the moment now we move this and change any of those, we're going to have problems. So the easiest way to fix this instead is to come over to animation. So once we click this button, we'll see that another actual tab opens. Now let's put this on material instead. And what we're going to do now is just come round back to our barrel, and you will see down now we have a lot more options on here. And this is sometimes why you want to go into your animation tab rather than just the layout. So sometimes it's easy just to work on the layout, and then when you're getting something more complex, go into the animation tab. Now if we open this object transformation, it looks like a lot's here, but in actual fact it's not. Now here is the three locations of where this is in space and time, the rotations, and the scale. You can basically discount the scale right out of the bat because we haven't done anything with the scale. So what we could do is, in actual fact, we could come to our scale, press B and grab them all, like so, and then just press delete. And basically we deleted those out of the way because we haven't altered any scale. So if you wanted to make this a little bit more simple, you could do. Now what we need to do now is we just want to alter our location. So I'm going to come in now. I'm going to press Shift Spacebar because I've come into a different tab, which means my gizmo's disappeared. So what I want to do now is on frame 1. So again, you can see it's on 0. We want it on frame 1. Now at the moment, we can't actually see anything on here. And instead of it being down on here, it's actually down at the bottom here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on frame 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press I, location, rotation, scale, because then it's just going to follow them along. We could have just put location on there. If I press Ctrl Z again and I just press I, we can just actually set the location now. It will still roll. So if I come over here, like so, to frame 50, and I'll move it, let's say here, and I'll just press I, location. And now if I pull this back, you'll see that the barrel will still roll and move at the same time. Now you can see it's obviously not working very well. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to press Ctrl Z and just put that back to where it was. I'm hoping that it's not going to move, which it's not. It's just rolling, so that's great. So now what we want to do is move this barrel from here all the way over here. So we've pressed I, we've got it here. And now let's move it to 200. And let's move it all the way over here. And then we're going to press I, location. And now when we press spacebar, you will see that the barrel will not move until right near the end. And the reason for that is because we hit location, rotation, scale. So it's got both the location, and that's why it's not moving, because we only set the location over this side. So what we want to do is we want to come down and we want to delete all of the location. So let's come in and grab only these location. I'm just going to click on one of these, grabbing all the location with B, like so. I'm going to press delete, And there we go. Now it should only be the rotation, which is great. So now let's come in, put it on there, frame 1, and press the I button, location, and then we're just going to go over to frame 200. And we're going to move it over here like so. And we're going to press I, location. Now when we press the space bar, you will see that our barrel rolls along. Now you will see it's got a load of sliding in there. That's not something we want. And the reason is because this barrel basically is moving too much distance for the actual roll. You'll see this a lot when you're playing some games where the character, his legs will be moving, but he'll be kind of sliding along the ground. And the reason for that is because the actual location is too far or too short based on his actual movement. So that's something that we're going to discuss in the next lesson. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.